The most exciting thing about the college football playoff expanding to 12 teams is the fact that a group of 5 team is going to get a shot and going to make it every single season. It was one of the biggest draws for the 12-team playoff for many people. But the thing that no one really saw coming this season, and with the way this season is playing out, is the group of 5 might actually have a shot at getting not just one, but 2 teams into the college football playoff. And let's talk about how that's possible. So how did we get here with the group of 5? Well, it's been based on some pretty key signature wins that several group of 5 teams have had thus far. We've seen Memphis beat Florida State. Yes, Florida State isn't very good this season, but it's still an ACC win and maybe one that could age well if Florida State gets their feet under them later in the season, which I kind of do doubt, but it is still a power conference win. UNLV has 2 road Big 12 wins against Houston and Kansas. Houston probably not going to be very good, but Kansas could end up winning some Big 12 games and could be a key win they could hang their hat on. NIU beat Notre Dame on the road. Notre Dame has already bounced back and crushed Purdue the other week, so NIU has a key win to hang their hat on. And then Toledo, a road victory over Mississippi State. Doesn't matter how bad Mississippi State ends up being, people will see that as a win over an SEC opponent. So that's all of a sudden 4 really strong resumes from group of 5 teams, but it's not just the teams who came out with a win. There's also a handful of group of 5 teams that have some quality losses early in the season, like Bowling Green lost a close one to Penn State. They have another game against Texas A&M upcoming. If they were to win that one, who knows what could happen. South Florida, close loss to Alabama. They still play Miami, Florida. They're kind of in a similar spot to Bowling Green. Texas State had a close loss to Arizona State. Boise State took the Ducks down to the wire, and then Tulane had decent games against Kansas State and Oklahoma. So if any of those teams were to win out, they would have a pretty high quality loss and probably a comparable loss to a power conference counterpart on there, meaning there's an entire other group here to consider. And outside of that, the group of 5 isn't quite wrapped up yet. There are some key potential games ahead where they could throw their hat into the rings. Any of these teams, Coastal Carolina hosts Virginia. You've got Army playing Notre Dame later this season. San Jose State and Fresno State both playing the Cougs, and Fresno State also playing UCLA. You've got a couple matchups with North Carolina, Boston College, and Wake Forest for Louisiana, Western Kentucky, and James Madison, and Ohio playing Kentucky. So there's still plenty of opportunities for some of these group of 5 teams to get a signature win for their resume and start to build a legit case to be on the playoff radar. The reason I talk so much about those resumes versus power conference teams is because that's the way these group of 5 teams are going to be measured through a playoff lens, is how did they perform in the non-conference versus power conference teams. And they performed pretty well. So they have some really strong resumes for group of 5 schools right now. There's 6 of them that are either ranked or receiving votes. UNLV, Toledo, Boise State, Liberty, Memphis, and NIU, which is really important to be on the radar. And if you don't think the committee considers the AP poll and who's on the radar and who people are talking about, you have too much faith in the committee, because that's what they do. It's just a bunch of Joe Schmoes and people that are in offices and athletic departments. They don't actually know ball. They're not like studying these teams. They're going to listen to the AP poll, and they're going to listen to which teams are trending and hot, which is important and why you need these non-conference signature games for the group of 5. But what's almost as important as the group of 5 resumes is looking at some of the power conferences, because the group of 5 could have the best season ever, but if the power 4 stepped up and has some really high ranked champions, it wouldn't matter. It's the top 5 highest ranked champions. There's no language that says it has to be the power 4, but it's just the top 5. And so we look here at the ranked teams from the ACC and Big 12 compared to all those that are ranked and receiving votes from the group of 5. You can see there's actually kind of a window here, and it's because of the ACC struggles. They have Miami up at about 8. They have Clemson down in the 20s right now. The Big 12 has Utah as a top 10 team, Kansas State, Oklahoma State in the teens, and Iowa State down in the 20s. So not as likely. The Big 12 has a few more teams up there, and if they beat up each other in conference play, other teams will likely take their place. For the ACC, it's not quite as likely. They've had a dreadful non-conference slate. They've had teams that have gotten smashed, with the exception of Miami. But you don't even have to stretch your imagination too far to see where the group of 5 can get 2 bids into the playoff. Picture this. Miami's the number 8 team in the country near the end of the season, and they play 24th ranked Cal in the ACC title game. Cal beats Miami, and as a result, Cal is the ACC champion at 17th in the top 25, and they're the team that thinks they can go to the playoff. But wait, if we have number 15th ranked UNLV and we have number 16th ranked Toledo, guess what? It's not going to matter. it's going to be those two group of 5 teams getting bids, and the ACC will be left out entirely unless maybe Miami gets a bid. What that might look like is something like this: the 2-bid group of 5 possibility. Toledo getting the 4 spot as the 4th highest ranked conference champion, UNLV getting in because of that auto bid as the 5th ranked highest ranked conference champion. So as you can see, you don't have to stretch your imagination very much, and it's because of how much the ACC has flopped out the gate. If you want to get real crazy, maybe you could talk about what happens if the Big 12 falls in their face and then maybe Liberty goes undefeated. Could we be talking about 3 group of 5 teams in the playoff? I think that's a little on the crazier side, but I think the 2-bid possibility is a lot more realistic. The 2-bid possibility might be putting too much faith into the committee respecting the group of 5. I do think if push came to shove, they might intentionally move an ACC conference champion, even if they had 3 losses or something like that, above the group of 5 champions to ensure they get a playoff spot, because there's a lot of politics involved there. So that's probably the reality we're looking at. But either way, we're going to have a really exciting group of 5 race to see who will be the representative. And the committee's going to have a tough decision to make, because as we've gone over, some of those resumes are really strong. And if we end up at the end of the season with a bunch of really strong resumes with either 1 loss or no losses, and you're dealing with an NIU with a win over Notre Dame and 1 close loss to NC State versus a Boise State that ran through the Mountain West with 1 close loss to Oregon, you're going to be in a really tough spot as the committee. I do not envy them in terms of picking a group of 5 champion this year, but it gives me faith that maybe whoever comes out on top of the group of 5 this year might actually be able to give somebody a run for their money in the early rounds of the college football playoff. But those are just my thoughts on the group of 5 playoff race. I kind of like the different lens I'm able to see the group of 5 through because of this, and I honestly think it would be even more exciting if the group of 5 had their own playoff. But I know that's a little bit of a hot take, and we won't get into that fully. I have another video talking about my thoughts on that. But I appreciate you guys for watching the video. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. We're going to be picking every single week 4 game tomorrow in my video I publish tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that one. If you didn't see the one I got up the other day talking about Mountain West potential expansion options or what's going to happen to them, feel free to check that one out as well, and I will see you guys later this week.